Hey, Violin Case players. I like play on words, so when you think about violin case, and a violin goes in a case, and we are also playing music, which is kind of like a detective case because we take little pieces at a time and we learn little pieces of things and then we solve something. So it's all fascinating to me. This one is a very serious page, page 12. This page, of all the pages in the book, is the one that's the most important for you to get and to be able to understand. So if we spend a little bit of extra time on this one, it's because of how important this is. So I'm going to use one of our detective props, which is to use a magnifying glass to kind of show you what I'm looking at. So the first thing, and we've talked a lot about it, is that there's a musical alphabet that is A through G, and then it starts over again. So this first exercise, and I know that on violin it includes some sharps in here. I want you to kind of ignore that a little bit. It's more important that you know that it's A, B, C. So let's play the first line, which starts on first finger on the G string. And we have A, then B, then C, D, E, and F natural. I'm going to share with you a little sneak peek, but F natural is friends with first. F sharp is friends with third. So first and second finger have not made friends yet, and second and third have. So that's F sharp, and then G, A, B natural, C sharp, and that's another one of those where C natural is here and C sharp is here. Then F sharp, G sharp, and A. So we have 3 A's that you now know on your violin. It's this A, third finger on the E string, open A, and first finger on the G string is A. And those are called octaves. We'll learn more about that, but this is A, A. Just for your information right now. That's your musical alphabet. Now let's look at a major scale. I know in your lifetime you've heard a lot about major scales. So we're going to look at G. The very first one, we're going to start on your G string, and we're going to go G to A, which we know is a whole step. So one of the things that we just learned, which is important for you to understand, is that all major scales are made up of half steps and whole steps only. So, and those half steps and whole steps are in a pattern. So if we look at the music, we start on open G. We have a whole step, which you learned in your previous page, between G and A, because there's a note in between. So we have first is a whole step, then first finger to second finger is another whole step. So the pattern starts out with whole, whole. Then B to C, we learned, is a natural half step. And so there's your half step here, whole, whole, half. Then we have to have a whole step from C to D, whole step D to E, whole step E to F sharp. And this is where our key signatures come in, because the pattern for all major scales is between the first and the second note is a whole step. So memorize this. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So between the 1, 2, third and the fourth note, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th and 8th note. All major scales have half steps at 3 and 4, between 3 and 4, and 7 and 8. Very important concept for you to remember, because all major scales have that pattern. It doesn't matter if they start on G or D or A or C or B. It doesn't matter. They all have whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Or if you want to make it simplified, between the third and the fourth note and the 7th and the 8th note, there will be a half step, and all other of the steps will be whole steps. So what we're introducing right now is the reason for key signatures. A little bit different on a violin than it is on cello and bass in this, or cello and viola, just because we don't have a low C string on the violin, so we can't start with C major, which has no sharps and flats. In order to get that half step between 7 and 8, we can't play F natural, we have to play F sharp. So that's going to drop me down, and you can play this. You'll know these notes. You have a G octave here at the end, so you could just play this through. Write on these lines your pattern, whole step, whole step, whole step, half, you know, and so on. So I'm going to jump down here to G major now. So G major has one sharp, and that is F sharp, and F is the very first sharp all the time. So in any music that you look at anywhere, if it's guitar music, if it's cello music, if it's violin music, the first sharp in your circle of fifths of sharps is F, always. And it's on the top line, which is your F line that we've learned in practice. And that means that the F's in this piece are sharp. And well, for now, we'll just leave it at that. So when we come along to a F, which this is an F as well, it's just an octave down, that F has to be sharp. You've already learned F sharp because it's high second finger. And now we're just putting it in the context of a scale. So you're going to play G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. This is a 1 octave major scale. Excuse me. Ragweed, it's fall here. So here we go. Let's play that G. We're going to do half notes on G, 1 octave scale. Say the notes out loud. 1, ready, play. 2, 4, C, then D, E, F sharp, and then we're going to walk back down G, F sharp, E, D, C, and make sure your bow playing is very good. Try not to tick the other strings, and G. So there is a 1 octave G scale. Now let's put on our exploration detective cap here again, and we're going to go on to what's called D major. So if you look over here at see the treble clef sign? Well, on this one you have 2 sharps over here. So the 1 sharp on G and 2 sharps on D, that is called your key signature. And the key signature from now on is going to tell you what is sharp for now, and we'll learn flats later, but this will tell you what is sharp in your scale. The reason for these sharps is to get the correct half steps and whole steps. So we already know these notes F sharp, and C sharp. You've already learned them, but the reason we come to them is to get the correct half steps and whole steps, because E to F is a half step. E to F sharp is a whole step, and we need a whole. Then we need this half step here between F sharp and G, which the F sharp gives us that half step for D major. Then we have a whole step, that's right, a whole step, that's right. And then we need a whole step between B and C. So we have to go to a C sharp here to get that whole step, and then that C sharp gives us the half step to D. And that creates your pattern of whole, half, whole, half. Very important that you know this. This is this is a foundation that is very important to know. Music theory, if you can call it music theory at this young stage. But from now on, when we go forward in the book, you need to look here for your key signature. The sharps will no longer be inside the music itself as accidentals written in between before the notes. This is going to be the key signature that tells you that F and C will be sharp in D major. So let's play the D major. So half notes. Get your position set up. Make sure you're holding it nicely with your shoulder and your head is straight. Bow on D, and we're going to go 1, 2, ready, half notes. D, E, F sharp, half step to G, then open A, whole step, then B, whole step, C sharp, and D, half step. Now come back down, say the notes out loud. D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, and E, and now D. And that is a 1 octave D scale from D to D. Let's move down to A and look at A major. I'm spinning my view around so I make sure that this is showing you what I want it to show you. So A major, see that extra sharp? There's another sharp popped in there. So we still have the F, we still have the G, and now we have a third sharp. They will always be in this order. F is number 1, C is number 2, excuse me again, allergies again. F, C, and the third sharp is always G. They will always be in this pattern, F, F, C, excuse me again, F, C, and G, sharps. So, and they're always on the line. So they're always on the line that is that name of the note. So the top line is F. That space, that's the second space down, is C. If we go over here, that's called a C. And then one note above the staff is called G, and that one's sharp too. And so if we start on A, open A, the pattern is whole, half. That C sharp gives us a half step there. Then whole to E to F sharp gives us that whole step that we need there. Then F sharp to G sharp is the whole step that we need. And G sharp to A is the half step that we need. That is the pattern that you are looking at when you do any major scale. And I can't emphasize enough that if you memorize that on these 3 strings and these 3 keys, then when you go on to E major or let's say B major, any of those, you'll be able to go, okay, I need to go whole, half, whole half, and I'll have a major scale no matter what note I start on. So let's play A major now. So we're starting on A, 1.5 notes. Ready, play. A, B, C sharp, and D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. Now A, G sharp, and F sharp, E, and then D, C sharp, and B, and A. So there's a good theory lesson on why we have key signatures and sharps, and eventually you'll learn flats too. There's the same reason for the flats, to get those whole steps and half steps in the correct space in order to get a major scale, and or eventually you'll learn about minors and pentatonics and modes and all of those different kinds of things that create why we have to have that. Now let's move on. I know this is a bit of a long video, but the next thing that we're going to do is to learn Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star in all three of these keys that we just learned. So we have G major, D major, and A major. So G will start on your open G, D will start on your open D, and A will start on your open A. So you will learn Twinkle, Twinkle, Star in 3 different keys. Now you already know all of these notes because we have practiced them in the book so far, and you know the melody of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star as well. So let's see what we can do. We have G, then open D. First finger on D string is E, then open D. Then if you look at these, the next 2 measures, they're all on the G string. So we're going to move our bow to the G string and play 3, 2, 1, open. So we've triaged those 4 measures. Let's give that a try. 1, 2, ready, play. D. Now E first finger. Then 3rd finger. There it is. Now let's do this triage again that we've been doing. Look at these 4 measures. They're exactly the same as the first 4. Then we have D, C, B, A. Look, D, C, B, A. Many folk songs, if you learn part of something, you've learned most of it. So if you learn the first line, you already know the second line. So let's learn these last 2 measures. We're going to start on D, go D, then C natural, B, and if this is a video that you're just hooking in, I play on a 5 string, so I'm not playing that low C string. So on your instrument, the G will be the lowest string. So just ignore my instrument. It just dawned on me that some people might come in halfway and not do. I would recommend that you go back to the beginning and do all of the pages. They're free. We used to offer rental lessons, and because of the pandemic, we weren't able to do those in person. So this was my pandemic project to get this up and get them online for everybody. So you could still start, but hopefully you'll get in-person lessons. But now so that's your G major. Twinkle. If we go down to here, we're going to add F and C sharp to our D major. Now, there's a strange thing about this one. Even though it's got F and C sharp, there is no C's on the top one. There is some F's though. But if you had to play C's in Twinkle in D major, which the bottom duet part has the C sharps, then you would play C sharp. Same pattern, but now you're going to do D, open D, open A, first finger B. So we've moved everything up a string. Same half steps and whole steps though. That's why it sounds the same. It'll sound like a different pitch to your ear, but the whole steps and half steps and the fifths and the fourths are all the same between D major Twinkle and G major Twinkle. So let's try this one. See if you can get your finger pattern. I want you to stare at these notes, say the notes out loud, get used to seeing them and where they are in your instrument though, so you get it in long-term memory. Ready, go. D, D, A, B, A. Now third finger. Know because some of those measures repeat. So I'm going to quickly go because I know this video is getting a bit long, but we're going to go now to A major. A major adds the G sharp, which if you look at this again, we don't have any G's on the top part, but you do on the low part, on your duet part. But you're going to have F sharp and C sharp on your A major Twinkle. It sounds the same because the whole steps and intervals are all the same intervals. So we have A to E, E to F sharp, and then open E. We've just moved everything up a step, up a string, up a fifth. So here we go. A, ready, and E, F sharp, then D, third finger, and you know the rest. So there's your introduction to page 12 and 13. The next video will be all the duets that come along with this. Spend some good time and make sure you really understand this. Look up some stuff online about major scales and music theory and sharps and key signatures. Make sure you really understand this because this is a foundational understanding that if you don't have, it's kind of like math where if you know your addition and subtraction, it's easy to move into multiplication. And if you know multiplication, it's easier still to move into division. Same thing with music. If you don't understand reading notes and the length of notes and your rhythms from whole steps, half steps, from whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, that kind of stuff, if you don't understand what all of that means, it's hard then to figure out fancier rhythms or more difficult rhythms. If you don't understand your key signatures of what an F sharp after your staff, after your treble clef sign, if you don't understand what that means, you're not going to be able to play as easily as if you understand this. So I want you to really digest this, get this in your long-term memory. Really understand with your fingers where all of this fits in too, because it'll make everything easier as you continue to build the walls of your musical playing and your musical ability. Have a wonderful week. Practice every day. That's a big thing, and the more you do it every day and repetitive, it will stay in your long-term memory and then it won't go away. It'll just be like reading or talking. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.